So yeah, welcome back everyone. So our final speaker of the night is Abbie Bartlett, founder of Leeds, and you may know her as well. She does a lot of marketing for Green Room, XOYO in London, and I mean, I overheard you earlier. Loads of other things you've got going on. So I think this will be a really interesting one. She'll be sharing her journey and insights into building culturally relevant brands. So everyone, welcome Abbie.
Hi, I'm Abbie. I'm not a very good public speaker, but I'm a really good yapper, so I will get to the point eventually, probably. If not, then I apologise. So a little bit about me first. I started as a bartender, as many do, and for the company Arc Inspirations, which has like Manhattan and Banyan and Box, and at the time Pitt. And I was just a bit bossy, so they made me a supervisor, and they made me a manager. And I was in that job for about 3 or 4 years. And at the time, it was when social media was sort of coming up as a marketing tool. So all of the bars had somebody in them who ran the socials for them for each individual site. So that was me. And they had lots of competitions they would do, like who could get the most likes on the Facebook post and who could get the most this and that. And I would want to win them all. So we would make little videos. It was before Reels, before TikTok. We made little like advertising videos and just, yeah, sort of just messed about with it. And then I went to leave that job just to get a admin office job, just to get to 9 to 5 really. And the area manager at the time came to me and said, I know you're leaving, but we've got a role as a marketing assistant in our head office. Do you want to come and do that? Very, very entry level. And I was like, absolutely, sounds good to me. So I started there and did a couple of years there. Then we went into COVID, which if you did marketing for basically anybody during COVID, that didn't really stop when everybody else was furloughed. So while everyone else was watching Netflix, we were still trying to find ways to talk to people without having any bars open. We had 19 at the time, so it was a lot of, putting recipes online and making funny posts and things, trying to get people engaged. Came out of that, and then, once we came out of COVID, I then went into a more digital marketing role. So I did that for the brands themselves, did a bit more brand management. And then I was sort of looking to leave because I've been there for quite a while. And a company in Manchester called The Mank, which is like a media publisher page, their managing director reached out to me, a friend of a friend, and said, we want to start a page in Leeds, which is called The Hoot. It'll be starting from nothing, starting the Instagram, starting the TikTok. You'll be running the show. And it's just a whole page that just shows off things to do in Leeds, food, drink, etc., and then make it profitable by getting ads somehow. And I went, no, that sounds easy. So did that, wasn't easy at all. I spent the first year by myself, just sort of wandering around Leeds, asking people if I could make videos about their venues and their restaurants and hoping that they landed. And then after about 2 years of that, then became head of brand for the Leeds page, the Manchester page, and a new page that we'd started in Sheffield. And all of those were sort of flourishing. 100,000 followers, that sort of stuff. Like you might know The Hoot if you live in Leeds. It's a quite good spot to go to if you want to know where to go out. And then essentially my now business partner, who is the owner of Green Room, came to me and said, come and work for me. And I said no. And he said, okay, new plan. What if we help you start your own business? How does that sound? We've got an accountant, we've got an office, got the rest of it, da, da, da. And I said, yeah, cool, let's do it. And he was like, okay, well, then pitch it back to me. And I was like, oh, what? I thought this was like a done deal. So went away, came up with the name Why, which essentially just comes from what I'll get into, which is kind of using social media as a way to answer questions from your customer and your consumer. So why do you make all your own pastry? Why do you have £50,000 lights? Why do you do all these things? Give people an insight into your business and how that helps create their brands. Will was then like, okay, cool. Well, you've left your job. You've started here. Start posting. And I was like, I know you know a lot about tax, but I know more about branding, so let's hold off a minute. So went to a friend of mine who's a graphic designer and said, don't have any money, but I will one day. So please could you make me a logo, build me a bit of a brand, build me a brand deck? And he did, and it's great, I love it. And then from there, it really was a case of, I didn't want to be, there's a lot of marketing agencies, a lot of social media agencies, they're everywhere, very rife. And I didn't want to be another one of the ones that had their own social media as a way to say, you know, 3 top tips to go viral, or, you know, 5 ways to do this, because I genuinely don't think that I have the authority to say that. I'm very much would have to know you, know your brand, know what your customer wants in order to be able to give you that advice. So I can't generically say that. So I decided to start Why Leeds as a page, which is essentially using the type of content that we do, which we were going to put forward to our customer in its style and in its storytelling, but build that as our portfolio rather than having it sort of business facing, which has worked quite well for us. Then in terms of like getting clients, I was very lucky. From working at The Who, I knew every owner of every independent business. I'd been everywhere in that time. So when I first started it, before I'd announced it, before I'd really even told my mum, I'd told 2 guys that owned a restaurant around the corner. They've got really big mouths. They told a load of other people. Then I had a load of phone calls. Heard you starting your own social media business? Do you want it to come on board? So we had our first 4 clients before we'd even told anybody it was happening. So that was obviously a great position to be in. And then sort of the way that the brand then builds around why and what we do is we have a lot of clients, in my opinion, but not, you know, hundreds and hundreds, and we spend an awful lot of time with them. So our whole ethos is that we will, you know, spend half a day with you and your team. I know everybody's name in the bakery or in the restaurant, in the bar, wherever it is. I know what everyone does. Spend a lot of time in there as a consumer, and then really just, instead of being sort of sat there scheduling posts, seeing what happens, it's very ingrained in actually knowing them, being part of that team as well. Like, you get invited for the team drinks and stuff, which is nice. And that's sort of just how we built Why. Part of when we were, that was kind of what we do anyway. But for more into what we do, Green Room was the first official client that we had, because it's Will's bar anyway. And at the time that we started, that was when Green Room did a massive refurb. If you go to Green Room, you'll know about this. They knocked down a load of walls, made it twice the size. And that's when we really started on this storytelling way of doing content. So we documented the build and the process and all the behind the scenes, ups, downs, really, really consistent everyday posting, with Will as the owner as the forefront of that, and then really built this hype around the opening that wasn't just shiny and the finished product, but really just people were waiting to see what the next step was, when we were going to put that disco ball up, when is the bar going to be finished. And that sort of has fed into everything we've done afterwards. So other brands that I work with, like Bake and Savvy Baker and Homeboy, which you might know, it's all around the owner is the main sort of character, in terms of that's the person that loves that brand more than anybody else. Like, that's their baby. If anyone's going to know what to talk about, if anyone's going to talk about it well, it's going to be them. So putting them as sort of the basis of it, with the team around it, and kind of going as far in as we can without revealing, you know, too much of the negative. But it's the step-by-step of how everything's made, the when things go wrong, but kind of in a funny way. Like Green Room, someone stole their sign the other day and that got 1 million views, so that's good. And just sort of like that focus, and just not being too bland, and that sort of personality to it, which has really worked for us. And I think what the main thing that does for these brands, especially for the small businesses, and I'll go more into the bigger ones, but is in a time where people only really want to get, you know, 1 coffee and a croissant when they're out in the week because they don't want to spend too much money. They want to get it from Tom specifically, because that's the person they've seen on their socials, and they're consuming their social media like they would a TV show. So that's their favorite character. That's the person they want to see making it. And I think that has really, I mean, it's been very effective in everything we do, and sort of using that as a tool to make people really understand people's brands and then buy into them. And yeah, this is just me gloating a little bit about the results, but it does tend to have just really, really consistent following. You tend to find as well with this style of content, you get a lot of repetitive commenters, you get a lot of people that will always reshare it, and they're like, it is like they're watching it like it's like a TV show that they follow. Like, and just like you'd buy merch for a brand that you love, you buy the bake instead. It's sort of the same energy. So sort of kept that going. We've kind of gone into bigger projects. So Rob did ask me about XOYO specifically, because it's our most recent and sort of biggest project that we've done outside of Leeds. XOYO is a club in London, if you haven't heard of it. It was sort of quite well known in its day, and then died a bit of a death, and then yeah. And then Kirk, who is my other business partner, decided to buy it and refurb it and see if he could turn it around. And like when I say it was not doing well, it was really, really not doing well. Like it could have, been at death's door. He bought the club at the start of December, brought me on board to do it middle of December, and we started filming content for it just before Christmas. At the start of January, he went to Thailand, which wasn't that helpful, but we had preempted a load of videos. The idea originally was just to do 4 videos a week for the months. That's what I sent the fees for, but that was changed afterwards. And I said, as long as the first video goes okay, and we've got a few people on board, we'll be absolutely fine. Posted the first 4 and it just went mental. I think the original video that we posted that was sort of the announcement of it has now got over 100,000 likes and about 25 million views across platforms. People just went crazy for it. They were so excited. And I was like, right, well, you have to be reactionary at this point. I can't post now in 2 days' time. Everyone's hungry for it. So I was like, right, everything that I've already done, let's just post it out now. Got myself down to London, and then every single thing that happened, filmed it. So somebody knocked down a wall, filmed it. Kirk's in Thailand. Can you do a voiceover? Send it to me. Talk about this wall. Packaged it together, posted it. Somebody asked a question. Okay, Kirk, can you answer this question? I'll make it look like you're in London, don't worry. He ended up flying back early, and it sort of just continued from there. So over those 32 days, we replied to like 10, 15 videos of people asking questions about the business. We posted every little bit of the build. We hosted some free events, which we filmed. We didn't do any paid advertising, any paid marketing, no influencers or anything. From that success of people seeing it online, then had the BBC, the Telegraph, the Independent, London Insiders, like everyone you can imagine reaching out to me. And I was like, oh my God, don't know what to do. And Kirk interviewed with all of those. And we just kept that momentum going and going. And I think that's sort of the main sort of takeaway from using this kind of content that I've always found is that if you do want to put your content as people first, which is something that people are really after at the moment, it's not just a 1 video a week, job's done, see you later. It's a full-time thing that you need to commit to because people will be hungry for it. And if they ask a question, they want to know right now what the answer to that question is. They don't want to wait a week. So since the opening, the idea was then to stop posting or stop posting as much, whatever. We've done the opposite. We're still posting twice a day. We've expanded it to the other businesses that Kirk has. So he has a festival, he has another nightclub in Leeds, the Warehouse, and sort of expanded the content through that. And the immediate success that he's found from that is the first 30 days of XOYO being open, they sold out every show, which they thought was never going to happen. Signed DJs that they never thought would want to work with them, but because of the brand's notoriety they gotten from the viral success, those DJs were like, well, that seems like a club I want to perform in. Got those, which was amazing. And then since then, it's been the same sort of knock-on effect with the other bits that we've been talking about and the like other festivals and whatever. The ticket sales have gone up through it because all in all, that sort of buy-in to the owner and that brand awareness is where people's trust comes from. And if they trust you, they trust your brand, they think that what you're going to give them, they know everything about it. So they go, that is going to be a perfect product when it comes to me because you've showed me that from start to finish. They're like, yeah, I'll buy the ticket. Yeah, I'll buy the £6 sausage roll because I've seen you spend 2 hours making it. And it's all sort of tied back in again to how this can really, while it is a lot of effort and it's a lot of commitment, it can be the best way to really make your brand have that notoriety that you want. And sort of, you don't really have any questions to ask when people come through the door because you've already told them everything. And it's the same thing with Green Room. Since it's been open, it's always had the same ethos. It's always had the exact same like rules, I would say. So we'd like no bookings and use only local beers and all that sort of stuff. But we bring that messaging into everything that we do. So if we decide to change a beer on tap, we make a video about it. We tell people why we're doing it. We decide to change an opening hour, we make a video and say, we have to do this. Even if it's a case of we couldn't get a late license that day, we make the video, we tell people why we can't have the terrace open for an hour. So no matter what happens, they're inside. They know that that brand is doing everything they can to be the best product for you. There are sometimes ways that can't happen, but they know that, and everyone's happy, I guess. Yeah, so kind of what I've learned from it, the biggest thing really in building a brand is for me, just being super, super consistent. Once you've got what you're doing and how you're doing it, stick to it. Don't keep chopping and changing if it's working. Even if it's not working, kind of keep going and tweaking it, but don't change it overall. And sort of to treat your social media, obviously I'm a social media agency, I think it's the best thing ever. Use it more like the front page of your book rather than a marketing tick box. So it's not just something, oh God, I've got to do my socials today. I need to put 3 posts out today, because if you're not putting any thought into it, then nobody else is going to care about it either. That is your opportunity to, before somebody steps through the door, before anything else can go wrong, that's the bit that you have complete control over, that you can go, this is who we are, this is exactly what we're doing. And then hopefully then the product and everything else speaks for itself and it all comes together. I think I've got time, but that was it, really. Thanks. Any questions? Yes.
So it kind of sounds like you've started to expand now with more of the projects that you're taking on. If you personally, in terms of your agency, have you started to expand the agency? Do you have any people working with you? Like, how have you started to manage that side of things?
Yes, so I hired, how have I grown at the agency with the demand that I've got coming in? Hired first full-time person, Cam, she's here, hi, about 4 or 5 months ago. And then G's had expert, she works for us as well. So on a more part-time as well with the job she's doing. So basically, yeah, just been starting to bring people on board. It was something that I was a bit nervous to do at the beginning, because if you're quite OCD about your brand, like I am, bringing someone else into that is quite difficult. But when I decided to hire for Y, I was like, well, I'm just going to do it in the way that I know best. So I made a video talking about my brand, saying that I needed someone to work for me, put it online. It went viral, got 750 people apply for the job. So Cam did very well, stuck out. And then I managed to sort of get the right people through that, because I advertised in the medium that was best suited to the brand. And that's how I've ended up with the best people. And then I'm just going to kind of keep going with that. It is a bit of like my inbox, especially since XOYO's success, has been quite full of London brands that want to do more. But at the moment, sort of Leeds independent has always really been at the heart of what we're doing, and I don't really want to change that. XOYO was a little bit out of the box for us, and I do things in bread and dough hut and places like that, and that's really at the core of what we're doing. So I think in that sense, we won't expand too much further than we are, but in the future there obviously is opportunity, and if that is the case, then to sort of grow a person, couple brands person, I think is the best way to do it. Anyone else?
So with a new business, how involved would you be? Let's say a small independent business came to you, would you set out the expectation and say, I'm going to spend X amount of hours with you, or how would it work?
Yeah, so it usually depends. Like everybody's on sort of different packages, I suppose, but I've never really done like a set, like, silver, bronze, gold. It's always been very bespoke to the person. So if they're wanting a couple posts a week or whatever it is they're wanting, I will explain to them kind of what they'll get back from that in terms of not having as much. But from that sort of determined. So say it is somebody that I do 4 posts a week for, I'll do half a day in the venue with them. But it does sort of, you have to be so flexible with these things. So I'll say, Wednesday, 8 till 12, and actually I'll do 2 hours on Thursday, 1 hour on Sunday, 3 hours somewhere else, and it does end up being a bit more. But there is a little bit of guideline, but it does go out the window a smidge, because when you're being reactive, you don't know what's going to happen next. And a lot of the time with small independent businesses, they don't actually know what they're doing next week yet, so you can't really plan ahead. So you sort of wait for them to decide and then plan it in. But there is a little bit of, this is how much time is allotted to you. Yeah. Cool.
Why is the why more important than how, what?
I think that's what sort of sets us apart. Am I done? Is after this one? Oh, sorry, repeat it. Why is the why more important than the how and the what? I think for us, that was more about how we were setting ourselves apart from other marketing agencies and social agencies. So kind of putting the attention onto the why is, I don't think the other things are less important, but I think the why is what comes into the style of content that we do, because that is what we're answering as a question. there is like the how we do this and the what we're doing, but the why we're doing it, I think, is what people buy into, because people are nosy. They just want to know, but why have you done that? Why did you put 5 more bikes in? Like, why? I mean, it's obvious questions, but people are just, we're in a very, very nosy time. People want behind the scenes and they want to know the ins and outs of everything. And I think that the why is then the center of that, in terms of like how that builds the brand, and you're answering a question before it's even been asked.
You're talking about the why. Does it create more of an emotional connection to somebody that's receiving it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's been great for the business that I have, when they can talk about the why they're doing things, to be honest about things with their audience, which makes people emotionally more connected to it. When you're talking about, you know, why we've had to put the price up on our donuts, and then you can talk about the rising cost of flour and the cost of business rates and everything else, and then that makes the audience more connected to them as a person, rather than just like, you just want my money. It's that reasoning behind everything that you're doing, and then showing the why we make everything the way that we make it, to make it the best product, and all of those things come together, make the audience and the person watching it feel much more connected to the business as a collective of people, rather than just a business front.
So how do you strike the balance between being proactive, so trying to get ahead of the curve, versus being reactionary, which seems to be important in the type of work you do?
I haven't really figured that out yet, to be honest. We've sort of just been going and going. Question. Being reactive versus proactive. My job before was very much like, the whole week was scheduled out, knew exactly what was being posted at the exact time. And I was like, perfect, this is so good for me. That's gone completely out the window. Now it's more, we know sort of what we're doing day to day, but every day then turns out to be something completely different. So with our style of business, and why people come to us to use us, is because we have the time to be able to do that. As a business owner, doing that for yourself is what people find really struggling with social media and keeping up with it. But we just tend to have to be incredibly flexible to our plans, what we're doing tomorrow, and then just sort of bouncing off. And that's, you know, why you end up a lot of the time working till 10 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. But that's fine, as long as it all works out in the end. But yeah.
I've got one, sorry.
Okay.
What's your dream client?
My dream client, I feel like I've already got them all. That sounds so cheesy, but when I first started it, I mean, Green Room's always been my favourite bar, and I love it there. So I was obviously grateful to have that. One of the first things I said when I started is, I love to do things in bread and dough hut, because I just love what they do. And then 6 months later, there they were. There's not really a dream in terms of anybody. There's not a size as well. Like, if there was somewhere that's a little walk-in coffee shop, or there's a massive nightclub, like, it doesn't really matter the size of it. It's just about whether or not I genuinely believe that the person that is running it and owning it believes in the thing that they're doing and wants to share that with people. I think as long as they at their core know that, then anybody is a possibility. So there's not really like a set amount of people that I could pick a dream out of. Yeah. Thank you.